Apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. We are back live once again. My Streamlabs is really not wanting to play ball today, but we are back. We are live. Like I said, apologies for that one. Something about Streamlabs at this stage does not really want us to enjoy our streams at the minute, but nonetheless, we will get things underway very shortly. But nonetheless, thank you all for being patient and stick with us. We will try and find a way to sort all this one out. I'm not sure why Streamlabs is being so rubbish at the minute, but we will, like I said, try our very best to get it resolved. As I am going to try something different to see what we can do about that. So what I might do instead is get ready with the grid order. So I think we're going to change scenes, and maybe that will help us sort a few things out nonetheless. But no, as I said, it's great to have you all back in the stream and watching. And like I said, just apologies for the mistake there. But nonetheless, we are getting ourselves ready for the first race tonight. Our sprint race is about to get underway. And you can see O'Reilly setting the pace at the top there. And he is the man to beat as we will now look towards our reverse grid sprint race. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you do not miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. We will get a poll going on who you think is going to win the sprint race. Tell you what, I'm gonna go a bit random today. Let's go a couple of drivers from the mid-pack. Obviously, if you think a different driver, then feel free to write in the chat who you think is going to win this one. Let's have another random driver, shall we?
30 seconds.
I'm just trying to think which drivers we can curse. But like I said, guys, don't forget to have a look at our fantastic sponsors, which is Design Manchester and Audio Sport as well. All their informations are in the description below, so have a look there. In the description below, we have Design Manchester, producers of vinyl graphics, laser engraved gift, mugs, clothing, and much, much more, including SimPlay merchandise. Their Facebook link is there in the description. And also Audio Sports, manufacturers of VW Transporter, T4 audio solutions such as styling products, and much, much more. Head over to www.audiosport.co.uk. Right, if the drivers are listening to me, let's try and keep this as clean as we possibly can. And like I said, we will look forward to this first race. Now, we're going to transition in this way. We have got the stream up and ready to go. Hopefully you can all hear me. And like I said, the grid order is now being played in front of you. Just trying to get everything organized, but we've got Marshall starting on front with Wheel with Archer in third, Marsden in fourth, Aberdeen in fifth, Vesely in sixth with Tipping in seventh, Fernie in eighth. Then we got Smith in ninth with Millington in 10th, Taylor in 11th with Skunky in 12th, Ramsell in 13th with Wright starting alongside him, Gary Leach in 15th. Well, Carlos will start in 16th place position. Hibbs in 17th with Duffin in 18th. Hooper in 19th. McGowan in 20th. Friedman in 21st with Clouden 22nd. Silth 23rd. Tordock 24th. And O'Reilly in 25th position. Old Sim Racer been dropped to the back of the grid because I think he was unsure if he was going to make the start of this race. But he is to the back of the grid, and we are ready to go racing here at Imola for the first time this week. Obviously, GT4 to start things off. Then we have the Pro-Ams tomorrow night. with your commentator Lexi bringing you all the action. And we've also then got the pros. The night after, we've got Sweet and Sticky in your box, giving you all the action there. Kelly Davis and Matthew Duffin bringing you the pro action. It is freezing cold conditions here in Imola. It is GT4 action to start the night off, and it is going to be a very, very close and hard racing. But as they come into the final few corners now, I will try and also get a track map up so I can remember the name of the circuits. There's obviously one corner I remember. But as they now come out of the final corner, it is Alpine versus Audi on the front row. It is Marshall and Wheel as they head down towards turn number 1. Yortotro, Enzo, Dino, Ferrari, Imola in Italy. We are ready to go racing here for the sprint race as we now wait for the green here. And we are green and go here at Imola, as already we see a couple of cars just jostling for position, trying to find their way through the gaps and heading down towards turn number 1 as Wheel in that Audi has had a decent start, and already a couple of cars just giving a little bit of pushing and shoving as majority of the guys at the back of the pack just taking their time, working their way through as we got a Ginetta off on the left hand side. Smartly just staying to the left and not causing any incidences here, but everyone relatively clean through Tamburello as they now head towards Villeneuve for the first time. Everyone looking relatively good there. Gary Leach having a little bit of a slide, and there goes Wright. Wright has been spun round, and everyone else managing to avoid him as they all managed to get round into the hairpin of Tosa. Now heading towards... Oh, trying to change cameras to the right one. I'm on board with Archer at the minute as we head up towards Piratella. 3 wide here as the 2 Cam Racing drivers going at it, and there as well I think is Duffin looking to go up the inside as well, as it's quite tight and congested in this middle pack at the minute. But it's the Chevy Camaro bouncing over the curb, and Duffin has made contact with Skunky, but somehow managing to get away with it, and more barging and shoving, and that was Hibbs. Leach has now been involved. Leach has got major damage. Who's he caught up with? I think he's caught up with Clouden. Yes, he has. There's McGowan as well, and all that was caused by Duffin and Skunky earlier on. But it's Wheel leading the way from Marshall, then Fernie with a brilliant race start with Marston up the inside as Fernie looks to make a move on Lexi. Up the inside of Lexi he goes, a job done, not quite, because Lexi should have the legs, yes she does, and pulls away from the Ginetta. Down the main straight they go. Aberdeen there on the back of these guys as well. Vesely in that very fast BMW. The Cam Racing duo, meanwhile, also going for the leaders. But it's Duffin with the best start from the back of the pack. Archer and Carlos working their way through the order as everyone else just minding their own business. As Friedman and O'Reilly have also gone with the pack. Looks like Tordok has struggled here. And a few of the others from the back of the pack. Gary Leach with major damage to the front of his car, as is McGowan and already Jamal Clouden to the pit lane, but it's back to the front with Wheel leading the way with Skunky, aka Ramey Fernie, right behind them, and he's going to send it up into the hairpin of Tosa, turn 7, and job done. Ramey Fernie takes the lead of this race. And Lexi now under pressure from Marston as well. So the top guys at the minute just trying to get themselves into some form of order as they now work their way through Piratella. Alpine driver running a little bit wide under the pressure from the Ginetta, as still the Cam Racing duo have been split by Duffin further back. But it is Fernie now leading the way as they go through Acqua Minerale and up towards the chicane. as Archer now ahead of Friedman and O'Reilly. Vesely's dropped down the order a little bit. Here comes Hooper. He is on the back of Vesely and Sylth gives Vesely a little shove. Sylth bouncing over the curb there and just struggling there as Hooper has gone wide and has got ahead of the BMW. Skunky's gone with him as well. Hibbs is there with Smith with a bad start for him, as is Tippings. But it is still Remy Fernie leading the way, the silver class driver ahead of the bronze class of Will and Lexi. They've had a decent start here, and they're actually keeping a decent gap back to Aberdeen. And we saw Marsden has lost out a little bit here as well. So Marsden's dropped down the order. And Aberdeen here is now under pressure from Millington as they head up towards Tamburello. I forgot for a second, I forgot the name of this corner. And Duffin gets very close to the back of Millington. He's also got Ramsell right behind him. As you can see, Aberdeen just struggling there as Lexi looking like she wants to have a go. Wheel just ahead of her, and Millington just having to fall into place. Meanwhile, Sylth is in this little squabble with Archer, and Friedman's made contact. Sylth's gone off, Archer's gone off, and Friedman's have to back off. He's waiting and waiting for Archer to get going. And Archer just taking his time to rejoin the circuit, and Friedman's probably sitting there going, come on, let's get back racing. Meanwhile, Fernie absolutely pulling away, fastest lap of the race to his name. And Lexi now has got Aberdeen behind her, but has taken a little bit too much track limits there. We'll have to keep that under control as now Millington is trying to pressurise the Ginetta driver. But he's got his own problems with Duffin breathing down his neck as well. Duffin now looking to the inside of the chicane. And there we see ahead as well is Aberdeen looking to make a move on Lexi. And they're all just being held up by Will, who has to cut the chicane, goes straight on. And Duffin goes wide as well. That's going to be a corner cut from him as he clears the Cam Racing duo. But O'Reilly, your championship contender, is already with the leading bunch. And what a drive he has had. He's now looking to go up the inside of the Cam Racing cars, but one of them goes off. That is Millington. And Millington off into the gravel, and they're Duffing up the inside and gets the job done in Aberdeen. So Aberdeen drops down the order even more, and Duffin pits. So a few cars now diving into pit lane to get themselves into some clean air. Meanwhile, Carlos, and there we see Sylth just changing his mind at the last second. Seeing a few cars there. Tordock sees that opportunity and goes to make the overtake around the outside. And Tordock goes through. Job done. Meanwhile, Carlos still looking to make a move on Vesely. Any other moves? A lot of cars in pit lane. Smith is in. Leach is coming in with that damaged car. He has managed to get it to pit lane, luckily. So great stuff from him. But Fernie, with the jump earlier on, has managed to stay out. Now Will and Lexi have got to be cautious here because they've had Duffin come into the pits pretty quickly. And O'Reilly now with a little bit of clean air, but he's going to get stuck behind traffic momentarily. So see how he manoeuvres through all that. Up to the middle sector they come. Down towards Aqua Minerale they go, and Lexi under some immense pressure right now from Kieran O'Reilly. Duffin and all have now gone green, and once again Lexi going a little bit wide. Probably will have to live and lose up that time. And here comes O'Reilly looking for a possible move, but can't see a door opening. And once again, all these guys are just getting a little bit congested. O'Reilly's made a little mistake over the curbs there. And here comes Ramsell and Aberdeen as they're looking for an opportunity to find a way through, but can't do so. Further back, meanwhile, Sylth and Tordock are having their own little scrap. And Sylth just dropping behind at the minute, but it's Fernie who carries on leading another lap as Will comes in. So does Ramsell and Aberdeen. So Lexi has now been released, and away she goes. Can she hold off O'Reilly for as long as she possibly can? While this all happens, this benefits Duffin because he has got the clean air at this stage. I say that, but Hooper is the leading car, so Duffin now is behind Hooper. So we'll see where all these guys pan out. Meanwhile, O'Reilly gets the job done in Villeneuve, and Lexi drops down a further position, but now Hibbs is on the attack. As we got Tordok and Sylv just trying to hunt down their fellow MSA compatriot of Carlos. Oh. As I'm trying to get myself comfy with all this crazy action happening. And then down towards Peratella they go. Our Peratella heading down towards Acqua Minerale. And this is your closest fight on track at the minute. Hibbs is right on the back of Lexi as well. Any other closest fights at the minute? We have got Marston and Taylor going at it. The 661, that is Wheel. Drive-through penalty for speeding through the pit lane. Sorry, stop and go as well on that one. So Duffin and Hooper have cleared those cars. Meanwhile, we've got a car off in the final sector. Who is that? That is Lexi. She's facing the wrong way round, but she has got herself going once again. And a possible silly error from there, but Fernie, meanwhile, extending that lead, 8.9 ahead of O'Reilly. Now O'Reilly's got some clean air. What can he do with it as Hibbs now goes down the straight? Everyone else opting to stay out at this stage. So the leading cars at the minute use the clean air and use those fresh tyres as best they possibly can, as Friedman now comes in pit lane and is going to be dropped right in the action. So, Hooper ahead of Duffin, ahead of Ramsell, ahead of Skunky, ahead of Wheel, who's got us do his stop and go, ahead of Aberdeen, Millington and Marston. Taylor tipping Clouden with the fastest lap of the race, Smith, McGowan and Leach. That is your order from the pitters, but it is this fight between the two MSA drivers of Tordok and Carlos at the minute that's going to hot up. Meanwhile, the gap between Fernie and O'Reilly was 8.9. It has already come down to 7.5. So O'Reilly, with that clean air, is doing exactly what he needs to do, and he needs to jump these two, Hooper and Duffin. Friedman, meanwhile, has gone green as they all come down the back straight. Where is he? Down pit lane. He's a bit down the lane, so it's going to take him a while. I think he's going to end up dropping into this possible Marsden fight, I reckon. But we will see, as Carlos and Tordok still going at it. 6.9 as well is the gap now coming down between Fernie and O'Reilly. Friedman, where is he? He has come out of the pits, I believe. Yes, he has. And like I said, Marsden is right exactly where I thought he would drop into, and he has. Hooper, meanwhile, is now starting to put a little bit of a gap on Duffin. But Fernie into pit lane, and O'Reilly's going to come with him as well. One more lap these guys could do, and Hibbs is going for, as is the rest of the pack. They're all going to extend the gap, and O'Reilly comes into the pits. Meanwhile, McGowan is 2 laps down with major damage. In comes the pit also, Old Sim Racer. We still wait for Archer as well. But now we got this fight between the two Porsche MSA boys of Tordok and Carlos. Going wheel to wheel, bouncing over the curbs of Tamburello. Get a good exit, don't run too wide as Tordok there has had a great run. It's difficult to overtake, but if anyone's going to overtake around here, it's Tordok. He's been looking mighty in the pro. What can he do in these GT4s? As Carlos looking for an opportunity to just keep Tordok behind, keep the advantage over him. Meanwhile, Hooper and Duffin trying their very best with the clean air to try and bring that gap down to the leaders. Meanwhile, Fernie has gone green, as has Wright, O'Reilly and Old Sim Racer, and we will see where they all pan out after this. And here comes Will Friedman. He's on the attack of Aberdeen, and Millington going up the inside of Marsden. Job done for him. Oh, and Will goes a bit wide, so he loses a couple more positions. But Will Friedman, much better exit there on the back of Aberdeen, and job done for him. Meanwhile, Duffin ends up behind O'Reilly. So Hooper now the leading pitter as Remy Fernie continues on leading this race, but he's got Hooper breathing down his neck. So Friedman has cleared Aberdeen, Millington has cleared Taylor and Marsden as Old Sim Racer comes in and splits the cars. Meanwhile, back to the front, Carlos has pulled a little bit of a gap on Tordok as the leaders will have to pit this lap. In comes Hibbs, in comes Carlos, Tordok, Silth, and McGowan obviously staying out. He's done his stop and he will unlap himself. Archer, last car to come into pit lane, and that is your order at the minute. It has been fast and furious so far in this race. And Duffin right now on the back of O'Reilly. And as he is on the back of O'Reilly, he's going to hopefully find an opportunity to find a way through. Skunky on the back of Ramsel. So all these guys slowly work their way up the order. We will end the poll there for your sprint race winner, as all the leaders are now in pit lane. We got this close fight with Millington, Taylor, Old Sim Racer, and Wheel has cleared his... okay, all three cars decide they can't make the chicane and go straight on. Lovely stuff there. And out of all that, Marston's going to be the one to pick up the points here a little bit. Around the outside of the Taylor he goes, as he's going to try and get Old Sim Racer as well. Not quite, and Old Sim Racer misses his brakes, opts to go straight off and avoid Millington, and brilliantly done there. Tordok speeding in the pit lane, stop and go, penalty, as he's got Sylph right behind him. Through goes Ramsel, through goes Skunky. Oh, not quite, Skunky's on the back of these guys, but Carlos and Tordok and Sylph all close to one another, and it's Fernie still leading ahead of Hooper, ahead of O'Reilly, ahead of Duffin, ahead of Hibbs. So great racing here already, and Sylph now trying to find a way past Tordok, but he knows Tordok has got a penalty to serve, and around the outside goes Sylph. Sylph done, as Archer does not complete his pit stop, and will be getting a penalty for sure. Right on the back of him now is Skunky in the top 10. A little bit of an incident earlier on, but he has managed to stick to the back of these guys. As I go through Piratella once again. 4.5 minutes left to go of this race, and Fernie makes a mistake through Aqua Minerale, and that's going to allow Hooper just to get a little bit closer. But the top four all relatively close to one another, including Hibbs actually. Top five all close to one another, so there's still possible race winner here on the cards. What else is going on? Taylor and Marston going down into Aqua Minerale, but nothing going on there. Everyone else pretty spread out. It is your top guys at the minute that is going at it, and O'Reilly sends it up the inside of Hooper. A little bit ambitious, supposed to be late on the brakes, and Hooper's going to keep it around the outside, and this is going to let Fernie go. And Fernie pulls away. 1.1 was the gap, and it's getting bigger and bigger. Where is Tordok? Because he has to serve his drive-through. No, he's going to continue on. He wants the fight. And O'Reilly, with the straight line of the McLaren, goes up into second place position. Here comes Duffin now around the outside. Through Tamburello, he's going to try and go wheel to wheel with the Chevy Camaro. They get close to one another, but it's Hooper on the inside that will keep hold of the position. And the more and more these two fight, the more and more likely Hibbs will get involved. So even though O'Reilly is carrying that 40 kilos on board, he is not struggling here. Can he do anything about Fernie, though? He had a very strong Spa. Francorchamps taking both race wins. Is he trying to replicate that here at Imola? As O'Reilly there has been given a flash by Hooper. I'm not sure why. Possibly, maybe felt he was done by, with a little push to shove. Meanwhile, Ramsel has pulled away from Carlos. Sylph struggling there, as is Tordok. He goes wide. Skunky just onto the back of these guys, not able to really do anything with that. And when we got Archer and Aberdeen, this is not really a fight for anything, because Archer will carry a penalty over his head, as Old Sim Racer and Matt Wright are having a little bit of a fight at the moment. A little kerfuffle. And Taylor is leading that scrap at the minute. But Fernie now coming down towards Rivazza. Turn 18 and 19. 2.3 is the gap. They've been roughly doing 1 minute 50 laps, so we'll see how close this is going to be. But I think, oh, we got a yellow flag further back. That is Taylor. No, it's not Taylor. That is Archer facing the wrong way. So he's obviously come to griefs. But I think we're on our final lap here. Fernie, as Duffin now goes around the outside of Hooper, once again trying to do it at Tamburello, but will not do it there, as he will try and go through to Villeneuve, and Duffin flashing the lights. And once again, Hibbs gets onto the back of them, still trying to stick with Carlos, but Carlos defending off his much quicker teammates at the minute. Archer has got going, but he's dropped further back. But O'Reilly has dropped the gap down to 9/10 of a second. Less than a second to go. Here comes O'Reilly on the attack of Fernie. Into Piratella. Fernie can't let up. He has to keep it going. He has to stay in front. He needs to keep the much quicker guys behind him for as long as he can. You see O'Reilly there just abusing the track limits a bit more. And you can see there O'Reilly in the background getting bigger and bigger in Fernie's mirrors. Meanwhile, Hooper, Duffin and Hibbs, and O'Reilly has to lift. He may have cut the corner a little bit, and that might have just let Fernie off. Meanwhile, those guys in 5th position and fighting for those positions have a little bit stabled now. But Fernie, I think, is going to do it. He's going to exit the final corner of Redvatsa, and time's going to run out for O'Reilly. It is Remy Fernie who wins the sprint. Congratulations to Fernie. Or has he? He's not made it yet. He's not. To the line. Oh, Remy Fernie hangs in there against O'Reilly with Hooper in P3, Duffin P4, Hibbs P5, Ramsel P6, Carlos P7, P8 is Silth. Torok would be P9, but he's got a 60-second time penalty. Skunky in P10, Friedman in P11. Here comes Taylor to finish in 12th place position for him. And just ahead of him is behind him is Old Sim Racer and Wright for 13th and 14th. 15th is going to weigh off Marston, with Aberdeen in 16th place position, Millington in 17th, Tipping, that's going to finish in 18th place position. Archer will finish 19th, will drop further back with a 130-second time penalty, so that's going to allow Vesely up the order, as will McGowan, Silth and Lexi. They'll all go up a position. Jamal Clouden coming home for 24th position, but gets the fastest lap of the race to his name. Gary Leach will finish in 25th, with Wheel in 26th position. What a dramatic race that was. Wow. A lot of action here and a lot of cars struggling in these conditions. The temperature is cold. The track never went to optimum, and obviously a show of what's to come this week. Clouden comes home to finish in 24th position. Still points on the board for himself. Gary Leach will finish in 25th, and Wheel bringing up the rear. We'll be back in a few moments' time, as we will go to a short break, and then we will have the 5-minute qualifying session followed by the feature. Guys, don't go anywhere. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we are underway once again for qualifying here. And reminder as well how these guys work. It is a very short qualifying session. 5 minutes is all they are allowed, so out on circuit as quickly as they possibly can. Yes, some may be able to get 2 laps, others won't, but that's the luck of the draw. And you've got to be prepared and ready coming into the qualifying session. But a great race one nonetheless, and a great race for Remy Fernie, who gives himself some decent points and massive points again for your championship leader, which is O'Reilly, who now is sitting ahead of Turok by 79 points. We're still sat in P3, P4 is Cloud in P5, Hooper, P6, Friedman. Let me just double check that these points have been updated correct. Yes, they have. So Friedman in P6, 7th is Duffin, 8th is Hibbs, 9th is McGowan, 10th is Carlos, Leachin 11th, Ramsell 12th, 13th Wright, O'Brien 14th with Fernie, now up into 15th, 16th is Stardog, 17th is Skunky, 18th Taylor, Old Sim Racer 19th, Minton 20th with Goudet 21st, 22nd is Smith, 23rd, Tipping with Vesely in 24th, Aberdeen in 25th, Unsworth 26th with Rook in 27th, Hump 28th, Johnston 29th, Clarball 30th, Marsden 31st, Cummings 32nd, Archer in 34th, Wheel 35th, Lexi 36th, 37th Jackal, and 38th is Betterson. And I said we are underway and qualifying the number 85. That is Taylor and Marsden. Both have been disqualified from qualifying for some reason, and I'm not sure why. But it's Duffin who is going to set the first lap time here tonight as he head down towards Tamburello. So down through Tamburello, they go into Villeneuve, making sure they get a good, fast flowing run through there. They get a good exit as they then head up towards turn 7, the hairpin of Tosa. A couple of drivers that are on a qualifying ban. I think, or people choosing not to qualify. But Duffing now works his way through Tosa, now into Piratella of 9, then heading down to 10, 11 of Aqua Minerale. Next coming up, 2 very fast right-handers, braking, getting the front turn in, get a good run out of Aqua Minerale, then heading down towards Alta, 14, 15, try and get the car to float over the curbs as best you possibly can. Over the curbs he goes. Get a good exit, then head down towards Rivazza, turn 18 and 19. And then just the final few corners there to nail. O'Reilly's looking very fast behind Duffin in his McLaren once again. So he is going to be the man to beat as he now exits the final corner. Here comes Duffin now, as we'll keep an eye on O'Reilly. Just behind him as well is Jamal Clouden. Seemed to found some pace over practice and was bringing the gap down to O'Reilly, but we'll see where they sit as Duffin now comes to the line. The pace is a 52.2. O'Reilly with a 50.9. Clouden, what is he going to do? No lap time set, but he manages to get through the line to set another one. Bernie goes P3 on that one. Only a 10th off the back of Duffin, but more importantly, gets another lap. Silt and Carlos both go quicker than Duffin. They've been 3 and 6/10 of O'Reilly. Once again, another lap to their name. Friedman gets within 1/10 of O'Reilly. So can Friedman take the fight to the McLaren driver? Wright crosses the line and goes into P7. Vesely now goes ahead of him to gain a position there, and they're all crossing the line. They will, majority of them, get a lap time to their name. McGowan did not complete a lap time either, so a lot of these guys are going. Again, we're on board with Turok, who left late, which might have been quite a good strategy. He's only got 1 lap to do it. He's got clean air. He's not got traffic. Is this the tactic that he has gone for? Down the straight he comes. and he only goes P6 for that one, 1.2 off the pace as Leach goes into P4. A brilliant qualifying session there for Leach. As we now go back to the front, we've got Duffin ahead of O'Reilly, ahead of Clouden. This is it, this is their lap times, and they will be done for the session. Duffin, O'Reilly and Clouden. Clouden keeping the pace relatively the same to O'Reilly. So this looks even from those two. Duffin, I think, is just struggling to find more time as they come down the straight. 1.2 off the pace is Duffin. Is he going to go any faster? He's given a lovely toe to O'Reilly. He does improve by a 10th, but O'Reilly goes faster. Jamal Clouden takes pole position away from O'Reilly. Hooper goes only P6. McGowan goes P4. To the line comes Silth. That is P5 for him. What a lap time there for Jamal Clouden, taking pole position away from O'Reilly. And here now comes Wright. He goes into P6 as Vesely's just behind him and does not quite improve yet. No, he does not. Meanwhile, Carlos is in pit lane. Who else improved? And that was that. Where is Tordok after all that? He starts in 12th place position. But Jamal Clouden, what a lap time from him, stealing pole position away from Kieran O'Reilly, who has been looking absolutely mighty round here, and he has been beaten to it. Absolutely brilliant. As now we will get a poll going on who you think is going to win this one. Feature race. What a qualifying lap there from Jamal Clouden. He will be pretty happy with that one. And when it came down to it, he did not get it done on his first one, but he did deliver on the second lap, and it has put him on the front row as O'Reilly has now got a lot of hard work to do, because it's not going to be easy to get past that Chevy Camaro. Quite strong in a straight line.
20 seconds.
As we've got still keep an eye out on for Will Friedman just behind them, as they will get their engine rising and getting ready to go racing. There is a poll on who you think is going to win this one. Jamal Clouden now leads them away for the feature race. As we get ourselves ready to go racing, and for some reason now my YouTube is not wanting to play ball. The stream's still going, and all that work that I did putting in that information was a waste of time. Absolutely brilliant. So let's try that again. Don't forget, guys, if you do like your action here at SimPlay Motorsport, then feel free to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified. If you do want to donate to the channel as well, there is a donate button in the chat as well, so feel free to donate to the channel. That would be absolutely amazing, as we are trying to give you as much information and fun as we can here. We are currently now only 98 subscriptions away from 1,000 subscribers. So guys, keep doing what you're doing, keep subscribing, keep liking these videos, because at the end of the day, these drivers not only come here to race competitively, but they're also here to entertain you guys. So please, they're doing a fantastic job as well. And also they've got a massive challenge coming up very soon, which will be a racing at the Nordschleife for the 24 hours of the Nürburgring in a fight against cancer. And even myself and I believe Matthew Duffin will be out on track while commentating as well. So we'll be pretty much up most for about 36 hours roughly, as we did last time. And so yeah, make sure you keep an eye on that one as well. And if you do want to be a part of it, then head over to the sim grid and sign yourself up. But a lot to come this season. And like I said, we've only now just got to the halfway stage of this season. But it is Jamal Clouden and Kieran O'Reilly on the front row as they exit the final corner here. Also in the description below is our fantastic sponsors, Design Manchester and Audio Sports. Producers of vinyl graphics, laser grade gift mugs, printed clothing and much more on their Facebook page. Design Manchester, Audio Sport, manufacturers of VW, Transporter, T4 Audio Solutions and styling products. Head over to www.audiosport.co.uk. Now let's get things underway for the second time this week. Clouden, O'Reilly, Chevy versus McLaren. Who is going to come out on top? Get your votes in on who you think is going to win this one. Is there contact in qualifying? Yes, there is. As we're about to go green here at Imola, we now wait for the signal and away we go. Heading down to Tamburello, and already you can see further back there's 3 wide. That is Carlos and Hupert and Leach all going relatively close as Clouden sends it into turn 1 and already has a healthy gap as the rest of the pack all work their way through Tamburello relatively well, and great clean racing from everyone there. Down towards Villeneuve we go, and it is Jamal Clouden with an early advantage, 1 second ahead of O'Reilly. Meanwhile, Silth has been overtaken by, Silth's attacking McGowan, and up the inside also is Wright. Wright's had a great little start here. He's up in the 6th place position, with Carlos now dropped behind Hooper. And these two going at it at the minute. They've got Leach just behind them as well, as Tordok has already moved himself from 12th up into 10th place position. One driver didn't make the start, that is Marsden. He started from pit lane as they get themselves going. And down towards Aqua Millerali they go, and like I said, relatively good clean racing is Skunky, already from starting from the back of the pack, has worked his way up and is now ahead of Millington. Had a little bit of a moment through the S's there, and you can see there Hibbs looking to make the move as well, but Clouden keeps the gap to O'Reilly and Friedman. McGowan in 4th with Silth 5th, Wright 6th, Hooper 7th, Carlos 8th, 9th is Leach with Tordok in 10th place position, Fernie in 11th, and he's got no lights on, has Fernie, so he needs to switch his lights on. Duffin in 12th with Vesely in 13th, Ramsel 14th, and there we see Ramsel pulling away from this fight of Lexi, who's got past Smith there. And here comes Hibbs. Skunky's dropped down the order, so possible contact there. But now Lexi gets ahead. And Smith's now looking to go around the outside of Lexi as they head up towards Tamburello. This sounds like a car going through the chicane there, as does Lexi. Hibbs hits the back of Smith, and around the outside goes Millington, so Hibbs making a light mistake there. They caught him out, as now Clouden being caught by O'Reilly as Friedman sets fastest lap of the race, but seems to be losing touch to the McLaren driver of O'Reilly. Already majority reckon O'Reilly's going to win this one. Leaders are all relatively even at the minute. Meanwhile, Tordok is attacking Leach as they go up towards Piratella. Leach giving him the inside space. And down the S's, there you go. Duffin, meanwhile, has now cleared Fernie, who's got no lights on. Oh, man, nearly hits Tordok. And both of them have to check up. And here comes Remy Fernie behind, who still has no lights on at the minute. Either that's damaged or possibly glitched. I do not know if it's glitched, then Remy Fernie will have to prove that they were working on his stream. Meanwhile, Smith and Wheel going at it. Wheel goes a little bit deep. And he's going to lose out there to Smith as Archer's there. Aberdeen also tipping. Old Sim Race Taylor. Skunky's trying to get onto the back. And Millington's dropped down. He's got major damage to the front end of his car. But meanwhile, back to the front. Jamal Clouden, 1.4 and pulling away from O'Reilly. Friedman now trying to get back onto terms with the McLaren driver. And Alistair Cummins in the chat saying Skunky rear-ended and with a thumbs down, so obviously not good there. So Cummins keeping an eye on what's going on, but McGowan there just looking like he's starting to come under pressure from Silth. Leach pulled away from Tordok as Duffin and Tordok had their own little let's say moment. They got relatively close to one another. Through Villeneuve they go. Smokey has no lights behind him on that. Yeah, that's not the thing though. PN, it may be glitched out for me, it might be glitched out for Matt as well. So maybe Fernie does have his lights on, but no one else can see him on. That's the possibility. But we don't, again, Mike, we do not know for sure if it is, yes, if he has got no lights, he needs to switch them on. But if it's glitched out and they are on, then why should he need to pit? Millington, meanwhile, in pit lane. Jamal Clouden pulling away a little bit. Actually, O'Reilly's brought that gap down ever so slightly, and Friedman's going with him as well. McGowan still under pressure from Silth. And here we go, Hibbs now looking to make a move on Lexi. Lexi at the minute in the top 15. Should be well happy with that one if she can hold on to those positions. But at the minute, she's got a very fast Mercedes-Benz breathing down her neck. And the rest of the guys all just falling into place as now O'Reilly sets fastest lap of the race, trying to hunt down Jamal Clouden. Leach once again onto the back of Carlos and trying to give him a bit of a hard time at this stage, but it actually lost some pace there to Carlos and just dropped back a little bit. Meanwhile, Hibbs has now got past Lexi, but Lexi's coming back at him around the outside of Tamburello, and job done. But the Mercedes-Benz is quite good in a straight line. And through the S's they go, through Villeneuve they go, and Lexi holds on to that position. So Lexi there just losing a little bit of pace here as Hibbs is giving her a hard time. Up towards Piratella they go again. No space for him to go through. We'll come back to that fight a little bit later on as Jamal Clouden now starting to absorb some pressure from O'Reilly. Brought the gap down by 8/10 and Friedman's going with them. McGowan, Silth, Wright and Hooper. Wright absorbing all the pressure here from Hooper. Hooper wanting to attack that a little Alpine. Not the fastest in a straight line is the Alpine, and the Chevy Camaro goes deep. He's going to run a little bit wide. Wright sees him and gives him the space. And this is where Hooper will now just absorb that power of the Chevy Camaro onto the Alpine. We'll go over onto the Helicam, and once again you can see the gap to O'Reilly, and Clouden's come down to 0.6 of a second. And Hooper there not able to use the full legs of the Chevy. But there we see the other Chevrolet leading the way. And now is starting to have something to think about with O'Reilly breathing down his neck. Leach once again gets onto the back of Carlos, but now Tordock has gone with it, and Duffin's not too far behind him as well. Meanwhile, Hibbs has finally cleared Lexi and now pulls away. Wheel, meanwhile, is still under some pressure from Aberdeen. Aberdeen's right behind him, and Archer just dropping back behind old Sim Racer there. And Taylor now dropping behind Tipping Skunky, just struggling at this stage, not even able to get onto the back of the pack at this stage. So, not sure what's happened there. Is there possible damage to his car as well, as Skunky goes a little bit wide onto the gravel. Your leaders, though, 0.4 of a second separating them, Clouden from O'Reilly. You see that Clouden just taking a lot of curb, making the rear end step out just as he exits, but Friedman, no, is the man on the move. Now hunting the top two, as we see here, Hooper and Wright going wheel to wheel as they now head down to Rivazza. Hooper to the outside, tries to outbrake the Alpine. The Alpine's probably got a little bit better brakes and stays up the inside. The size difference between the two is remarkable. And Carlos looks up the inside. He has a sniff at opportunity. And in the background, Tordock gets past Leach as well. But you fight for the lead of this race, and look at that McLaren just out-drag the Chevy. So much straight line speed in that McLaren, and Clouden loses the race lead to O'Reilly. Will Friedman now wanting to get close to him, as Wright still holds on, as Carlos and Hooper still battle it out. Any other fights going on at this stage? Archer has lost out to Aberdeen. Sorry, no, not Aberdeen. Archer's lost out to Taylor. So Taylor's gained a position out of that. And your leading bronze driver at the minute is Vesely in the BMW. So he's doing a very strong job. He's in the top 15 now. I'm going to go back to the front. O'Reilly now pulling away from Clouden, 0.4 of a second. Friedman's there as well, as McGowan's kind of in no man's land, as is Silth, and Wright still defending from Hooper, Carlos and Tordock. Leach and Duffin once again having their own inter-team battle, with Fernie ahead of Ramsel, ahead of Vesely. Your leading silver driver at the minute is Wright at this stage, and is right in the thick of the pro drivers at this moment in time. As we see here, Aberdeen and Smith going side by side. And also, I think Wheel and Archer, 1 second separate, 1,000th of a second was separating them, so they were side by side. Smith there goes a little bit wide. Aberdeen tries to make a run, tries to make a position here, but can't find a way through. And old Sim Racer goes to the outside. Aberdeen up the inside of Smith into Alta. They go, and job done for him. Up a position he goes. O'Reilly now, still 0.4 of a second ahead of Clouden. Clouden's just sitting there in the slipstream of the McLaren. Can he stick with him? That is the question. And right now pulling away from Hooper, who's under some pressure from Carlos and Tordock. The two SimPlay Racing boys need to work together to try and get onto the back of the leading group. And there, Smith goes wide. Goes very wide, and that's going to let old Sim Racer, his teammate, go around the outside. Is old Sim Racer going to get that job done? No, he's not. He's up the inside into Tamburello, and they get close. They bounce over the curb. Smith's hanging in there as best he can. Taylor's just on the back of this and could benefit. Yes, he is. He's going to try. He's up the inside of old Sim Racer, but that little Ginetta not strong enough in a straight line. Meanwhile, O'Reilly pulling away from Jamal Clouden. Jamal Clouden's now starting to become under pressure from Friedman. Your top three just managing to keep the gap to the Mercedes driver of Ian McGowan. At the minute, the top six with 6 different manufacturers at the minute, which is brilliant to see. And is right now coming back onto the back of Silk. So still putting some pressure. What has happened to Hoopert? Where is Hoopert? Hooper's dropped down to 13th. He's got front end damage from somewhere. And Hupert is dropping down the order. He's dropped behind Ramsel and is now going to look to make a move on Ramsel possibly, but as he just touches the brake there, you can see the lights just flicker ever so slightly. And up the inside he goes. He gets the job done on Ramsel, but Ramsel with better exit possibly will out-drag the Chevy. Not quite. They're still side by side. They're still going at it. And Ramsel, obviously damage to the front end of that car for Hooper is really hurting him. Meanwhile, Lexi still trying to fend off Aberdeen. And she's the best of the second best of the bronze drivers at the minute. Vesely's way up the road, so he's leading that class. And into Tamburello they go, and Lexi keep hold of that position. She's got a little bit wide. That's going to make her under pressure here from Aberdeen, who's right behind her. But not an opportunity, not an opening now. Meanwhile, O'Reilly 1.1 ahead of Jamal Clouden. Friedman gets closer to Jamal Clouden, but can't seem to do much with the Porsche at the minute. Possibly a little bit slower in a straight line to the Camaro. Once again, Silth under a little bit of pressure from the Alpine driver of Wright, trying to make a mistake out of him as Carlos and Tordock going at it. And then you got Leach and Duffin once again batting it out for best SimPlay racing driver. Was Duffin looking to make a move up the inside? No, he was not. Can Fernie just stick with him as well? That's the question. But a reminder as well, your fastest in the pro or the platinum class, O'Reilly leading them away. Fastest in silver class is Wright and attacking Silth at the minute. And your best in bronze is Vesely at the minute, who's in 14th place position and sticking with Hibbs. So a very good drive here from the BMW driver, as Clouden has stuck with O'Reilly. O'Reilly hasn't just disappeared into the distance. They're still close to one another. Can he just keep that momentum up at this stage? Meanwhile, Leach and Duffin, I think every week seems to be who's the better SimPlay racing driver. And Duffin now goes around the outside of Villeneuve. Leach thinking, you're not having me there, mate. Keeps the door open there on the inside as they get close now into Tosa. There you go. And the more they fight, the more Remy Fernie gets closer to them. Ramsel not a million miles away behind them either, so Ramsel trying to hunt them down. And through the S's, there you go, of Piratella down into Aqua Minerale. And there, Clouden looking like he's brought the gap down once again to O'Reilly. So it seems to ebb and flow between the top three. As Clouden just seems to gain a little bit in the final sector. And Wright, once again, gets closer to Silth, but can't really do much of it. And he's in the middle of this MSA gaggle of cars with Tordock and Carlos there. Duffin still can't find a way past on Leach at the minute and gets very close to the back of him and hits him. Matthew Duffin hits the back of Math. The two SimPlay racing drivers hit each other. And Gary Leach will not be impressed with that one. Matt Neal, Gordon Shedding, as that is. And once again, it is a Matt driver causing the incident. Meanwhile, old Sim Racer clearing Smith earlier on. Taylor trying to stick with them. As they go down the back straight, what has happened to Lexi? She's dropped down the order a little bit. So after Lexi looking so good earlier on, she's dropped down the order. Pit window has now opened, and Hooper is in pit lane straight away. Oh, and we just go on board with Marston, who ends up in the wall and straight into the pits. Where is McGowan? There he is. Currently sat in P4, not really hunting the leaders, kind of in no man's land at this stage. But O'Reilly still fast lap to his name. Clouden sticking 1.3 behind him, but really can't do anything at the minute. And Clouden really pushing track limits there as Friedman's trying to get onto terms with the top two. Right, once again, onto the rear wing of Sills, but can't do anything. Who's got the better little car? That is the question. Carlos and Tordok going at it for best Porsche. Matthew Duffin, after giving his teammate the boot up the bum. Oh, Leach has gone round. Nicely part Leach, he sets it in reverse, tries to give it a a beautiful J-turn there by Gary Leach and gets himself facing the right way. Who's he lost out to? He's only lost 2 places to Ramsell and Fernie, but still places he did not want to lose. Wright comes into the pits to try and get that clean air, but he will possibly, yeah, he might end up in a lovely gap, but we shall see. But Tordok is trying to attack Carlos, but this is your main fight at the minute. It is Friedman now onto the back of Jamal Clouden. Oh, Clouden's gone wide. That's going to be a bit of gravel there. An opportunity possibly for Friedman. Friedman telling me he's not the best qualifier, but a much better racer. And this is where he's going to put the pressure on Jamal Clouden. Clouden's just got to sit there and absorb all this pressure as best he possibly can. A lot of cars in pit lane. So this will actually help Wright out quite nicely as all the cars come into pit lane. That's going to give him some lovely clean air. So a little bit again, pack spread due to pit lanes and pit stops happening. And through the chicane of Alta goes the 2 Porsche drivers. And once again, Friedman gets close to the back of Jamal Clouden, but can't seem to do anything with it. Friedman, does he opt to pit? No, he stays out a little bit longer, as a lot of cars are going to come out pit lane. Leach has come out. Where does the rest of them? There they all are. They're going to be right in the mist. No, they're not. They're going to fall into a lovely gap, but that is going to be the McGowan gap. And luckily, McGowan's not raced anyone at this stage, nor is Sylph. So at the minute, it's pretty clear. But Carlos comes onto the back of a Ginetta, flashing the lights, telling him to come on, get out of the way as best you can. And he does so. Who is that off? I thought there was a car off in the wall. No, there's not. So now, guys who are coming into the pits are now going to start affecting the race leaders. And the one in the best clean air at the minute is Wright, with no one around him. So Tordok could be possibly looking into a similar situation that Wright is in at the minute. But once again, O'Reilly just starting to slowly just creep away from the guys behind. And it's going to be a titanic fight between Jamal Clouden and Will Friedman once again. Onto the helicopter cam. Friedman gets very, very close to the back of Clouden. Friedman just able to take a little bit more confidence through the chicane, but it actually has had a bad exit, and that's going to allow Jamal Clouden to be safe a little bit longer. No real fights happening down the pack, as pitters have started to come in and out, so we'll see where others all feed in with all this. And Ramsell continuing on through. Where is Tordok? Tordok has jumped right. So Wright was giving Sylph a bit of a hard time. So Tordok has jumped him, but has Wright decided to change tyres? Now Friedman has opted to pit, as has McGowan. Carlos is in. Duffin. What's he going to do? He's staying out. And where is Leach after all this? Leach comes out ahead, behind Ramsell. So Leach possibly with a little bit of damage. Stop and go for Lexi. Oh, Lexi with a stop and go for speeding in the pit lane. That she is going to be kicking herself after that one. So a lot of these guys possibly opting to not change the tyres. This is what we're possibly seeing right now. As the wind has picked up, I've never seen that go up at all. I've never seen it go to 5 kilometers. So interesting. That's always stayed at 0 for me. So the wind has apparently picked up. So Duffin just dropping off the back of the leading pack now, so no real threat there, and everyone else seems to be relatively spread out. The pit stop splitting the group up quite dramatically. Millington still going around circulating, but Tordok is the leading car of the pit. It is now Will Friedman. McGowan has now gone green, and Tordok comes flying up behind, and job done. Tordok now is possibly in 4th place position, so that early pit stop, clean air, foot down, and away he goes, has given him some beautiful clean air. Wright is there with him though, so possibly some of these guys have changed tyres or not. This is the strategy that some of these guys will have to try and figure out, but Friedman possibly not, as Jamal Clouden and O'Reilly both pit. Silf is going to carry on through and lead this race as Duffin now exits the final corner. Is he going to pit? No, he's not. He's going to go another lap longer. And through Piratella they go once again. And Tordok just ahead of McGowan and Wright. I think Tordok hasn't changed tyres. I think he's opted to stay out, odd no set tyres, jump a few cars in the pits and rely on track position alone. So we'll see if that will help him out or not. But Friedman with the clean air, or relatively clean air. He's got Archer now ahead of him. He needs to lap him. Oh, he's racing him actually, so not lapping him, sorry. So Archer is free to race, but Friedman gets the job done as O'Reilly and Clouden go green. How close are they to one another? That's the question. As we head down toward turn number 1, there is O'Reilly, there is Clouden. Clouden not up to speed yet, and he's going to lose out to Will Friedman. Will Friedman gets the jump, and Jamal Clouden drops to 3rd place. What can Will do about O'Reilly now? That is the question. He's cleared the Chevy Camaro of Jamal. Can he hunt down O'Reilly and give him a bit of a hard time? Meanwhile, McGowan has still got right behind him. Tordok trying to defend them off. And your top 4 at the minute still yet to pit. And Skunky a little bit way off the top 4 at the minute. They are now coming into the final sector. Silth is in. Carlos will have to come in and does so. So will Duffin. As we are now coming to the last part of this race. Duffin is moving forward, but not in a way that you would think. Duffin kind of in no man's land at the moment. His goal really is to stay ahead of his teammate Leach, but Leach has dropped down the order quite dramatically. He's behind Hibbs, Ramsell and Fernie, and Fernie's now got lights all of a sudden, so possibly the lights were off. So a penalty may possibly come in his way because they are now suddenly on after the pit stops. So Clouden just on to the back of Friedman. Can Friedman do anything about O'Reilly? O'Reilly's had such amazing pace in that McLaren. Tordok now just ahead of this group of cars, and I think it's just going to struggle now. If he's not pitted, if he's not changed those tyres, he's going to struggle towards the end of this race, as McGowan and I think Wright did change the tyres. Silth has gone green and away he goes. Where is Tordok? There he is. It's going to be very tight coming down towards Tamburello, and Silth gets the jump on all of them, and Carlos as well. So Carlos still ahead of Tordok. Where did Duffin feed in on all this? There he is going through Tamburello and just ahead of Fernie as well. So whatever happened to Leach, he's made a poor pit stop. Meanwhile, Toro with fresh hot tyres, looking up the inside of his teammate Carlos, but can't find a way through. Silth just up the road there. McGowan's just had a terrible couple of laps, I think, and has ended up in this squabble of cars. And Silth, the man who's done the jump and is ahead of all 4 cars. Meanwhile, go back to your leaders is O'Reilly ahead of Friedman, ahead of Clouden, and Clouden just dropping off the top 2 now, and an early lead for him earlier on, but he's just not been able to stick with them. Oh, McGowan bouncing over the curb. What else is happening? Skunky has jumped a few cars. He's now onto the back of Vesely. An old sim racer trying to pass Taylor. Not quite close enough at this stage. Sorry, Aberdeen, sorry. He's trying to pass Aberdeen. Just ahead of them is a lapped car of Marston, who's still going round, which is great to see. We love to see guys finish the race and make it to the end. But let's see the gap between the top 2 as O'Reilly crosses the line. 1.8, 1.7. So Friedman is finding that time, but not nearly enough that he needs to at the minute. Cloud is just there or thereabouts in case anything happens. But Carlos sticking with Silth. He's now got tyre temperature and is now trying to attack the little Janetta. This is your closest squabble at the moment, and it is Silth leading this group of cars. Oh, it goes on the curb, onto the gravel quite a bit there, and Carlos may just bring a little bit of inroad there. Once again, oh, Carlos has a moment there, and that's going to make him more vulnerable to Tordok. And McGowan goes a little bit deep through the hairpin, and Tordok pushing all the limits there, trying to get as much grip as he possibly can out of the Porsche. Meanwhile, further back, Aberdeen and Old Sim Racer battling it out, 15th and 16th. Sorry, 16th and 17th. Through Tamburello they go. That Mercedes-Benz very strong in a straight line, but the Ginetta so good in the corners and can't find a way through at the minute. Meanwhile, Wright got within 3/10 of McGowan and can't seem to pierce his way through this group of cars at the moment. Friedman just keeping on terms with O'Reilly, but no real threat given to him at this present moment. And O'Reilly once again crosses the line. 2 seconds now, so O'Reilly's in the groove, in a rhythm. And the one that's under some pressure here is McGowan. Meanwhile, Aberdeen now under threat from Aberdeen now under threat from Old Sim Racer still. Sorry, excuse me. Slight hiccup there. Oh, now we got Fernie under pressure from Ramsell and Hibbs here. There's a great little squabble going on for the final top 10 position. And it's Fernie having to do all the defending as the Aston Martin of Ramsell defending from Hibbs. Both in the Greasy Bandit camp. One running under Cam Racing, the other one running under Greasy Bandits Racing. And you see that, oh, Hibbs. Oh, Ramsell makes a mistake. That's going to give Hibbs a great opportunity there. Is he going to look to go around the outside of Piratella? That is the question. Ramsell versus Hibbs. And Hibbs right underneath the Aston Martin driver. Can't find a way through at the moment. That's the 443 drive through for Silth. Ramsell goes off. So after all that hard work that Silth done through the pit lanes, he gets a drive through. who have 3 laps to try and complete that drive-through. He's going to do it now. So Carlos now moves up to 4th place position. That rewards Tordok a P5 position. But he needs more points than that because O'Reilly is pulling away out in front and pulling away in the championship. And now McGowan's on the attack. Hibbs, meanwhile, has got past Ramsell. Job done for him. Meanwhile, Skunky has gone straight on there as he's off with Vesely by the looks of things, and he's struggling at the minute. So Silth, after all that hard work, losing out through a drive-through. Tordok now under some big pressure from McGowan in that Mercedes-Benz. Silth has managed to get going once again, and through goes Leach. That's how far he's dropped down, so he is just out of the top 10 as Leach himself goes off. But Tordok, meanwhile, has got McGowan right there. McGowan waiting for that prime opportunity. Meanwhile, Carlos himself is under pressure. He's made a mistake. This has given Tordok an opportunity. Helicopter cam as we head towards Alta, the chicane, and Carlos pretty much gives the position to Tordok, but Tordok's gone deep. Tordok has made his own mistake. He's made his own error. And after basically giving the position to Carlos, he now loses out to McGowan. Down towards left hand, McGowan's touched the grass. Can he keep it stopped? Yes, he can. Carlos has gone wide. Carlos makes the mistake. Up the inside, goes right now. He gets Tordok. And after all of that, McGowan gets his P4 back. He had to do it a harder way, but McGowan gets the position back. Brilliant stuff there. Carlos, though, in the slipstream, looking to attack Tordok as they head up towards Tamburello once again. Wright's there as well, defending from Tordok. But it's McGowan in the Mercedes-Benz who clears the 3 of them, and Tordok goes wide and makes another mistake. Duffin nowhere near these lot to capitalise either. Vesely now has been passed by Skunky and has got old Sim Racer, and he's missed his brakes once again. And Rovatsa, or has he? Actually, no, made the corner. And job done for him. That's a lapped car. I think that's Marston just behind him. But Carlos now trying to give McGowan a bit of a hard time, but has actually dropped off the back and right now splitting the MSA drivers. O'Reilly, meanwhile, coming up to the back of an Audi of Wheel. 1.6 is the gap between your top 2. Jamal Clouden pretty much in a solid P3, unless he drops it massively. It's not really going to go any further than that as Friedman goes up the inside of the Audi driver and possibly held up a bit. Meanwhile, further back, Wright looks to make a move on Carlos. He makes a mistake and Tordok goes around the outside once again. Side by side as they now head down toward Rivatsa for the 18th time of asking. 8.5 minutes still to go. And Tordok once again failing to get past the Alpine. And as all this is happening, Duffin has slowly been getting the cars back into sight. 5.6 was the gap. It is now 3.7. So he is slowly grouping his way onto the back of these cars. Leach and Silth, meanwhile. So Silth momentarily did get ahead of Leach. Leach is now back ahead of Silth. And Silth up the inside of the final corner of Rivatsa. Into the slipstream goes Gary Leach. The Mercedes-Benz much stronger in a straight line than the Ginetta, and you can see it just out dragging. They have a little bump, they have a little rub, and Gary Leach gets that position back as they go through Tamburello. But he's gone wide. He's made a little mistake and still can't get back through. Meanwhile, Fernie is under pressure from Hibbs, so it's all happening towards the end here. Wright catches back up to the back of Carlos, and they've lost touch with McGowan, who's pulled away. Meanwhile, O'Reilly and Friedman, 1.2 is the gap. Friedman is running out of time. He's got less than 7 minutes to do something to O'Reilly. If they're lapping in the 1 minute 50s, we're possibly looking at 3 to 4 more laps yet to go for O'Reilly to take another race win, but Friedman will want to stop that. 1.3 is the gap. Carlos, Tordock and Wright all in this great little top 10 fight. As Sills has now finally cleared Leach. And can he gain enough in the chicane and in the S's to just get away from that Mercedes-Benz? I think he will. And pull away, yes. As Ramsel makes a mistake in Rivazza and losing out to the 2 in front. Once again, O'Reilly pulling the gap, 1.5, separating the top 2. Fernie now under pressure from Hibbs. That Mercedes once again showing its might in a straight line, and Hibbs gets really close to the back of Fernie. Right, still your leading silver driver, Vesely is the leading bronze driver, and your gold driver is O'Reilly, and your overall race leader. Oh, Fernie's made a mistake. And through goes Hibbs, position given to him. So Fernie making a mistake. Now it's Ramsel's attempt now. Can he get his way back past Fernie? No, Ramsel can't find a way through up towards Piratella. And here is the gap between the top 2. 5 minutes to go, 1.2. What is it now? Friedman has brought that gap down. It is now 9/10 of a second, less than a second to go between the top 2. It is on. Friedman can still win this race if he doesn't do silly things like that. That is possibly race win gone. Trying so hard to get onto the back of these cars, but O'Reilly has got cars to try and clear, and the traffic has not been kind to him through Village. He's been held up by a Ginetta. Meanwhile, Carlos still under some pressure from Wright, from Tordock. Duffin was within the 3 seconds of these guys, but they pulled away once again. So Duffin just not got the pace to attack the guys in front, only when they're fighting one another. Hibbs, meanwhile, pulling away from Fernie and Ramsel. And old Sim Racer is onto the back of Skunky. So Skunky, whatever has happened to his car, he is struggling at the minute. Really struggling. How has O'Reilly cleared the traffic? He's cleared it relatively well, and Friedman not been able to go with him, and Cloudon's just caught that traffic, as now O'Reilly's got to try and clear Millington as they now come down towards the final corner of Rivazza. Once again, O'Reilly just getting onto the back of the Aston Martin, but Friedman really not being able to do anything with this after his silly error through the first couple of corners just as he gets close to the McLaren driver. Meanwhile, Wright still ahead of Tordock. And Skunky losing out to old Sim Racer. So what has ever happened to Skunky tonight? He's just had no fight in that Mercedes-Benz, and he's stuck behind now old Sim Racer, who looks a little bit quicker than him at this stage, as old Sim Racer goes very wide through Piratella. And Fernie now seems to keep Ramsel off at bay at this stage of the race. Down towards Tamburello once again we go. The 22nd time of asking. And right there, not a very good run through the first half. Tordock had to hit the brakes. He had that good a run through there on Alpine. He had to just check up momentarily. Oh, and Torok is a little bit deep through the second part. I may have said this race win might have been out of the picture for O'Reilly. For Friedman. But is it? 1.2 is the gap. The gap has come back down again. Has Friedman saved his strikes? Is he using all of them now just to get on to terms with O'Reilly as they'll start their final lap? Meanwhile, Carlos, where is he? There he is. For a minute there, the timetables went a bit strange. For a second, I thought Carlos had lost a position. No, it's McGowan who's lost time. Wheel goes straight on. Carlos's lights aren't on. So he's another driver who's suffering with light problems now. Wheel bouncing over the curb there, and Grass trying to stay out of the way. The leader is on their final lap. 1.3 is the gap. O'Reilly just needs to survive this last and final lap. There's the gap. There is Friedman. Is he going to survive Tamburello this time round? Yes, he is. But I think O'Reilly may have done the job. Clouden, no answer to the top two in the end. Brilliant qualifying session, but just lost out. Right here with a much better run through the final few corners. Is he going to look to make a move on the inside of Carlos? No, he is not far enough alongside. Into the S's they go now. As we are coming to the end of this race, it has been O'Reilly once again with a masterclass in that McLaren, showing why he is your championship leader. And Will Friedman bouncing over the curb there. 1.1 was the gap. As Wright still trying to find an opportunity to get past Carlos. He's going to be running out of time very quickly. As they now head towards Acqua Minerale for their final time. But it's going to be this man on another winning streak once again. Kieran O'Reilly with a second place in the sprint. And it's going to be a race win to his name as well. O'Reilly, fastest lap of the race, race win. He wins here at Imola and extends his championship lead to Torok. Second place goes Friedman, and a very solid third place from Jamal Clouden. McGowan is going to hold off in that P4 position as Carlos has made a mistake. Wright and Torok gets him right at the end, but it's going to be McGowan for P4 at the end of that one. It is going to be Wright, your winner for the silver class in P5, ahead of Torok, ahead of Carlos, then ahead of Duffin, and Hibbs is going to take that second place in the silver class. What has happened to Ramsel? He's just dropped right off the back of Fernie, but Hibbs, 9th overall, second in class. He comes home for that P9 position. Gary Clark in the chat, GG to all indeed. In the toughest conditions, Fernie comes home in 10th. Ramsel is going to finish in 11th place. I'm going to quickly get a driver of the day going. Silth dropping down after that drive-through into 12th place position. Leach will finish in 13th. Skunky and Old Sim Racer still going at it, but it's going to be Old Sim Racer who's going to take that position away. And a great job there from Old Sim Racer. Best of the bronze clans goes Vesely, and he's very happy with that one, flashing the lights. He takes 16th and class win. Taylor in 17th, Smith in 18th, Archer in 19th. There's going to be Tipping, Wheel, Alexi, Millington, Marston, and Aberdeen indeed. But it has been O'Reilly who has been the man to beat tonight. Clouden stealing that pole position, thinking we had a race on. Will Friedman also looking strong, but in the end, no one could deny the man that is O'Reilly at the minute. He is just on another level in that McLaren. And we will get driver of the day out poll coming at you right now. If you don't agree with me, obviously put who you think in the chat, and hopefully we will be able to hear from Jamal Clouden. He's more than welcome to come and join the party. I've given up with trying to do it on Discord because my computer, for some daft reason, doesn't like to do it. So if Clouden is listening, he's more than welcome to come and join me in the party. Might be easier if I just invite him in. But nonetheless, a fantastic night's worth of racing. I said it's been O'Reilly the man to beat. And O'Reilly taking the win here. Obviously, that is it for the GT4s tonight. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night as the Pro-Ams will be hitting the circuit. And bringing you the action for that one will be Lexi after she's relaxed and calmed down after this one. But we just wait for Jamal Clown if he wants to join me in the commentary box. As the server now gets reset. To get your votes in on driver of the day, for me, my driver of the day will have to go to Remy Fernie. Solid night worth of racing, a top 10 position, not quite top in his class, but another race win to his name. So Remy Fernie, a solid drive from him. Obviously, possibly might be under investigation, maybe for his lights. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But nonetheless, a great drive from Fernie. As we just wait a little bit longer, as I want to obviously get the tables read out as well. And just in perfect timing for that is our man Jamal Clouden. Clouden, obviously coming into tonight, first things first, let's talk about the conditions. Obviously, night race conditions are set to 4-5 degrees. Just talk us about how much difference that makes on a server like this.
A massive difference. It's like driving on ice. You're constantly trying to keep that rear end as stable as possible, and as soon as you ride the curves, it just wants to just send you straight into the wall. It's not. These conditions are not nice whatsoever. It was a real struggle.
Yeah, and obviously just before coming into the session, you were like struggling quite a bit with the Camaro, obviously knowing what O'Reilly had underneath him. Obviously, a few tips from myself gave you a little bit more a helping hand. Talk us about Camaro. How did it feel in general? I know it takes the curbs relatively well. This circuit, you do need to take the curbs quite aggressively. Just how was the Camaro in the end? Obviously, race one, you kind of want to forget. You end up in an incident, but race two was much, much stronger.
I changed one thing on the rear anti-roll bar, so just like to see if it would rotate a little bit better, and yeah, it literally just showed that in qualifying and throughout the whole race. It just felt a lot more stable. So yeah, the car felt good. The brakes started to play a factor again, where I had Friedman literally just pressuring me. But for all, in the end, it was alright. It was decent.
And let's talk about that qualifying lap. Absolutely brilliant. Obviously, O'Reilly, I've been looking at the times. He's been phenomenal in that McLaren. Looked like he was going to be quickest in the session. And just at the very end there, you managed to nab it. Where did that come from?
I have no idea. I could see that I was catching him on my final lap, and I was thinking, hang on, something ain't right here. But then I was like, nah, I ain't gonna get pole. I know I was gonna get either P2 or P3. As soon as I saw the lap, I was thinking, oh, okay, hello. So, yeah, it was a real surprise to me.
Well, nonetheless, mate, congratulations on the podium. Next race week is we're heading to the Nürburgring. Before that, though, we have got the Pro Class coming up on Thursday night. How confident are you feeling in that McLaren? Obviously, very strong car around here, holds the record around here, and obviously with these conditions, could be trickier than you probably may have thought at first.
I'll be honest, I am actually feeling quite confident in the car around here. In testing, it feels very strong. Um, Again, the MSA boys not too sure what they're going to be doing. Again, O'Reilly looking ridiculously quick in that Honda around here. Um, Anything could happen. We'll see.
And obviously, a quick word on Nürburgring and the Chevy Camaro. How do you think you're going to get on there? Very tight track. Maybe it's probably a circuit it might struggle on.
Um, I'm not sure. I've never done any seat time around there in the Chevy, so it should take the curves relatively well around there. With the torque that it has, it's got quite a few straights, downhill, uphill. It should hold its own around there. So again, we'll see what happens next week.
Well, nonetheless, mate, congratulations on the podium tonight and the pole position. And we'll catch you on Thursday night.
Thank you. Cheers.
Massive congratulations to Clouden for a podium there. And O'Reilly's got driver of the day. 4 votes going away. 1 vote for Remy Fernie for myself. That is it for the GT4s. Lexi will bring you all the action tomorrow night for the Pro-Ams. How are they going to tackle this circuit with these conditions? That is the question. GT4s, very, very clean tonight and great to see. We shall see you all tomorrow night for more great action. See you then. Good night.